And then with youth sports, because we push winning, and that's not really a concern for kids, they don't like I don't know if they don't like winning, but they don't like the stress of having to win all the time. They're kids. They just want to play and have fun. We put too much stress on them to be competitive and to always excel at everything sometimes. So how do we reduce the stress? How do we make it fun again? Well, if we teach them the skills instead of just throwing them into the game, if you just scrimmage the whole time and never stop to do skill training, then they're never going to get better. And so then they don't feel confident in themselves. Then when they get to the game, they're not doing well, and that sucks, and they don't enjoy it as much. So if we can teach skills, if we can take the time to do the skill training, do drills, practice situations that would come up in a game too. So if you have a play, we're going to run this play, and let's see, how does this play work if they change the defense, right? They need to know that ahead of time, and they'll feel more confident in the game situation. So that part, the drills, is what most kids consider boring. That's what I considered boring. I hated that part. But it's necessary, right? So how do you improve their confidence, improve their skill performance, but still make it fun? So first of all, you want to make them short. You don't want to have 45 minutes of the same drill. They don't have the attention span for that. So already, if you're going more than 5 to 10 minutes, depending on their age, they're zoning out and they're getting bored just because they've been doing the same thing for too long. So if you have like short, brief drills, always changing it up, doing several iterations of the drills that you do, that can keep it interesting and exciting, and make sure that they're going to be successful. Don't make it challenging enough that it is something they have to work for, but not so challenging that they're going to miss every time, right? They need to have some success, some appreciation of the fact that they can do well at it. You want to make sure that they're setting realistic goals too, right? So if you're working on free throw shooting for basketball, and kid's first time out there wants to make 10 out of 10, that's probably not a realistic goal, right? We're working on technique. So maybe setting goals on making sure your elbow's in, or that you follow through, and working on form first. And then once they start to get the form down, then the shot should take care of itself, right? So then we'll start worrying about whether they're making 60, 70, 80% of their shots. Add incentives. So make it fun. If everybody makes these shots, then we're going to do a drill that's fun, or do a dance party for a little bit. Whatever those things would be. Definitely don't make the incentive going to McDonald's after practice, because that's not good either. So also increase cooperation. So you're going to have, with youth sports, it's very common to have a very wide range of skill. So you have the really good kid and the really bad kid, and then the kids that are really bad at it are frustrated, and the kids that are really good at it are frustrated because they're bored, and they're frustrated by the people that are bad. The ones that are bad at the skill are frustrated by the people that just win all the time, and they never win. So if you can encourage a mentoring relationship where the better athletes are teaching the athletes that aren't doing the skill as well, then both of them are collaborating, and then both of them are happy, because now that you're challenging the older player, the more experienced player, to teach the skill and to understand it a little bit better. And you're making that more of a team effort. Like, we want everybody to be good, and taking the focus off of self and onto our team. So you can only do so much as a coach, especially in adolescent sports. The parents are always there. They're there for the practices, they're there for the games, and they have very strong opinions, right? And so we've seen some in news stories where parents get a little out of control, and then you see pictures like this going around on social media reminding us that this is not the NBA or NFL, this is Pee Wee football, and we need to calm down and remember that they're just learning, and to not be so competitive at this age. So not only do you need to make sure that you're doing a good job, but you need to be able to educate your parents and communicate with your parents so that they're supporting what you're teaching, and they're supporting you as well. And then we need to think about well, who coaches youth sports? This is not necessarily in the school. This is the community leagues, right? And most of those are volunteers, and most of those are male volunteers, untrained. Some of them may have had some kind of kinesiology training. They may be physical education coaches that are now coaching kids, or retired coaches, or mostly their parents or uncles or college kids. And so the problem with that is if they don't really know the sport that well, they're probably not teaching proper technique. And they may be putting your kids at risk. They may be teaching, especially if you have an old retired coach, the way the sport was, the rules were different when they were playing, and they may be teaching technique that can put them at risk just because they don't know better. And so what do we do about that? How do we reduce risk? So there are training programs for youth coaches. So there's a couple of National Alliance for Youth Sports and National Association for Sport and Physical Education offers coaches training. They are paid services though. So at one point, and they take time, right? So if you have just volunteers for your program, how do you balance, I need them to be trained to make sure that my kids are learning the skill well, are being mentored well, that they're in an environment where they're being cared for and they're not at risk of injury. But then I don't want to put too much on my volunteers that they quit and I don't have any coaches. So I want you to really think about how do you do this? How do you enforce training of coaches without scaring your coaches off? At the very least, you want your coaches to sign a code of ethics to make sure you will communicate your expectations to your coaches, that they know what is correct behavior for a coach in a youth sport league, and that they're abiding by those things. I like the last one. I remember that I am a youth sports coach and the game is for children, not adults, right? It's all about the kids and youth sports. We have to remember that. So now I want to see your opinions on training for coaches in youth sports. Okay, so that's all I have for youth sports. So make sure you're reading the book and doing the activities so you understand all of these concepts thoroughly.